Hi. About 2 weeks ago, I asked some folks in the Strategic Sorcery group to give me one-word questions for a Q&A. Just word, question mark, and I'd take it from there. And I didn't do anything with it, but I got something like 170 responses, so I figured better start working through those. So let's take the first few in this video. Word number 1, stagnation. Ouch. So stagnation sucks. It never feels good. But here's the thing. In magic, as I imagine with most other arts, we get this enormous boost of newness at the outset, right? This, oh my God, everything is new. Everything is a revelation. Think about the first book or two that you read on magic or witchcraft or archery or whatever. It doesn't matter. Every new page is like, oh, I learned something. Oh, that's cool. And so it gives you this response. It gives you this fulfillment. There is no stagnation. And then you keep at it, and you keep at it. And then reading turns to practice, right? That's the first way that, okay, we've read enough, now we need to practice. So stagnation doesn't step in. So there too, the first time we sit down with a candle to do something, even something small, it is magical, doing magic. And so that too, after we do it enough, it can be stagnant. So how do we fight that? Well, the answer is you don't necessarily fight it. You recognize that it feels stagnant because you've learned something and you've accomplished something and you've risen to the first plateau, if you will, where now you're repeating something over and over, making small changes, wax on, wax off. Boring as hell, but it built his arms up and his body memory so that he could do the move, not just know the move, but to do it without thought. And so that's stagnation. Stagnation can be a gift. Stagnation can also be a signal, if you've ridden the stagnation for a while, to go deeper into the art. Now, this is where people get screwed up. They change. So they think, okay, I've been, I don't know, working on Solomonic stuff, and I've reached a stagnant point. I think I'm going to go check out Palo Mayombe or something. And it's fine to do that. It's fine to check things out. But what happens is, if every time you feel stagnant, you run to something new for that hit of new, for that hit of, I didn't know anything about this, and now I do, then you're going to become a dilettante. You're always going to be stuck at the beginning of stage of learning something new, and that sucks. Nobody wants that. Instead, look for the deeper stuff. Look for the few people who know how to go deep into a thing and cut deeper in. So that's my advice on stagnation. So the next word is masturbation. Thanks, Al. So I don't know. What does one say about this? We've got the whole 90s kind of chaos magic, make a sigil, masturbate, reach a state of orgasm, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Tantra is practically based on the idea that enlightenment is not very far away, that it takes an experience that forces non-duality to achieve it. And so orgasms are great. The little death, le petit mort. Boom, your ego shatters in a great orgasm. I hope you have great orgasms that shatter your ego. And so, yeah, you know, I mean, that can work. I don't think it's particularly effective for sorcery, but for gnosis, it's a very powerful thing. And then there are ways, of course, to open that experience up, to make it longer, better, faster, more powerful, more potent. But you know, there's another aspect to this that is particularly modern, and that is, of course, that we now have the capacity to have porn at our fingertips, just anytime we want. And so talking with guys, I don't talk with a lot of girls about this, ladies, but you know, guys have these like no fat months and things like that, and I think that's not a bad thing, because I think it's weird that people can basically just walk around and think, oh, I'm gonna look at some boobs, and boom, on their phone they're looking at super stimuli, right? Not just normal, but like the most, you know, pushing the envelope of what that stimuli is. And so without getting into all the studies and things like that, I just say watch yourself, moderate. There's nothing wrong, but you know, like anything else, if you do it all the time, it can desensitize you. So don't desensitize yourself. Don't you know, don't get to the point where only, like, you know, midget BDSM is the only way for you to get excited. Enough on that. Third word for this time is thaumaturgy. Great word, one of my favorite words. A lot of people today treat thaumaturgy and theurgy like opposites, or that they're juxtaposed with one another. Theurgy is the contacting of the gods and spiritual magic, and thaumaturgy is sorcery, practical magic. But 'twas not always so. Greek theurgia is in fact reaching the stars, reaching the gods, but it's actually very specifically calling upon lower spirits to help you do that. Most theurgia is really quite phonic in practice. You're relating to sublunar spirits to help you gain access to the level above, and then so on and so forth. And there's all kinds of different approaches to theurgia. But thaumaturgy was a word, I think the earliest uses of it referred to saints, not to sorcerers. So it was not just incantations and you know, just practical magic for practical sake. It was actually a reference to the ability of saints to perform acts of magic because of their relationship to the divine. If you will, it's like theurgy creates the connection to the divine, or mysticism, which is a different approach, I would think, than theurgy, or at least I treat them differently. I'm more of a mystic when it comes to that thing. But thaumaturgy is a projection outward of that gnosis that is achieved. And so there you have it. Thaumaturgy. It's wonder-working for sure. And if you want to use the term to just mean like down and dirty sorcery for getting paid and getting laid, I've got no objection to that. It's a perfectly good word. But it's worth keeping in mind that the earliest references that I know of referred it to the saints, referred it to the expression of gnosis, or of holiness, able to reflect outward into the world to create miracles, to create change. Much the way that cities would be powers of a Mahasiddha that are achieved while the Mahasiddha is doing spiritual work. And this can work the other way around. There's a famous story of a robber who robbed a Mahasiddha and said, hey, you're a famous Mahasiddha, so maybe you could teach me how to become invisible and become a better robber. And the Mahasiddha said, yeah, sure, what the hell. So taught him this mantra, told him to keep circumambulating a stupa and so on, and which he did. And so after hundreds of thousands of times repeating this, a snake appears in front of him, and he's to take his sword and chop the head off, at which point he will understand the power of invisibility, which will then ostensibly make him a better burglar. And it does. It works. However, he also became enlightened, no longer wanting to rob people. So those are your first 3 words of the one-word Q&A. We'll do some more. I'll talk to you later.